In India, there is a region known as Rajputana, with many independent states, peopled by the Rajputs, one of the historic races of India. The annals of their history are a mine of feudal romance and gallantry. These states are ruled by dynasties of princes who have defied centuries of foreign domination. They are the most enlightened and the most chivalrous of the princes of India, and the British Empire has no firmer friends. 3 times a year, they hold a Durbar, or state reception, beginning with a colorful procession. The spectacle is eagerly awaited by the Maharaja's subjects, who treat this as a day of festivity in a land where old world custom and tradition still survive. Under the canopy of the elephant-drawn coach sits the Maharaja, surrounded by his most privileged nobles, their jewels glittering in the strong, steady sunlight. The state elephants are heavily laden with priceless embroideries and wear age-old designs painted on their heads in obedience to Hindu ritual. And borne proudly aloft is one of the Maharaja's most treasured possessions, the state banner presented by Queen Victoria to a previous ruler. For these Indian princes, though independent, pay homage to the British throne. Slowly, the mile-long procession winds its way to the palace. Here, the Maharaja's bodyguard and his soldiers stand at attention. For though the old world may live in the ceremonial of an Indian Durbar, the armies of the princes are highly trained and equipped with modern weapons. The Maharaja, in his silken raiment, gleaming with jewels, steps down. He is greeted by his ministers and nobles, clad in their richest robes, stiff with precious gems. The Durbar opens with a religious ceremony performed by a Hindu priest, who ends by placing a garland of flowers round the prince's neck. This ritual is watched in impressive silence by the noble assembly. The Home Minister has the privilege of being the first to be received. After offering his symbolical gifts, he makes a circular movement of his arm, a ritual meant to ward off evil. The Maharaja pays a special courtesy to these, his most distinguished nobles, by standing for their reception. Other officials and dignitaries advance to offer him their gifts of salt, bread, rice, and coins, symbols of their homage and their loyalty. For in these states, the people still regard their feudal law as all-powerful, and they expect in return for their allegiance everything from good advice in the season of marriages to rain when the harvests are threatened by drought. And even the poorest among them can count on direct, personal access to his ruler. The armed force of the state is represented by the commander-in-chief. Some of his many decorations were won on the battlefields of France and Flanders. For independent though these Indian princes are, they offer their swords and their armies in time of war to the King Emperor. He and his officers express their fidelity by presenting their swords to be touched by the prince. Throughout the day, the Durbar continues. The rigid ceremony is robbed of monotony by the dancing girls performing traditional songs and dances. Though each movement of the dance is known to the assembly, they are nevertheless held spellbound. For whilst we are only entertained by something new, the Oriental dwells and delights in the past. Rich and vivid spectacle draws to its close. Once again, the nobles and officials have expressed their loyalty to their prince, and once again, the people have seen the splendor of their state. Slowly, the Maharaja descends to his palanquin and is borne away to his private domain. Gardens, marble terraces, and courtyards separate the palace of the women who live in seclusion, surrounded by every luxury of the East. Their days are spent in music and singing, and the marble halls echo with their gossip. Night spreads her cloak over the land, and the palace stands like a fairy castle against the blue velvet of the Indian sky. In this enchanting atmosphere, it is easy to lay aside the problems of the day and forget the outside world.